Hi, Acadiana. I'm Meteorologist Dave Baker. We have our first tropical system of the 2024 hurricane season. Not necessarily a tropical depression just yet, but what we call potential tropical cyclone number one. And the reason why since 2017 this has been done is occasionally you have a tropical cyclone that's trying to form, but it can already have the tropical storm type of effects along a populated area within 48 hours. So prior to 2017, tropical storm advisories such as tropical storm watches or warnings were not able to be initiated until you had an official tropical system. Well, back in 2017, that did change, and it basically allows for a little bit of extra warning. So even though the reconnaissance aircraft went out to the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico, they found a low pressure area down here with a pressure of about 1001 millibars. Which is relatively low. That could potentially be a tropical storm, but they didn't really find an organized system, and some of the stronger winds were kind of offset from the center of circulation. So not a bona fide tropical depression or tropical storm just yet, but it does allow those advisories to go up along the Texas and Mexican coast now, where we have tropical storm watches that have been posted. So here's a look at the initial forecast that we have here, and potential tropical cyclone number one is now centered there over the central part of the Bay of Campeche, and it does appear that we're going to be seeing this strengthening as it moves in. Now, the aircraft went out there finding that lower pressure, doesn't really have the structure of the tropical cyclone, and again, those maximum winds were located about 200 miles northeast of the center, and a lot of the global forecast models are showing a band of stronger winds to start moving into the western part of the Gulf Coast on Wednesday there, and that's why that tropical storm watch is required. It is moving off toward the northwest at about 6 knots, and then will eventually make more of a turn toward the west-northwest, and they do expect the system to roll into northeastern Mexico or deep south Texas sometime in the next 3 days. There are forecasts that are showing for strengthening of this particular system. Initially, the track there for some of our computer models do have kind of a weird trend off toward the east and then back toward the west. But remember, these models ran a little bit earlier today and doesn't have the official center of circulation or the center where the National Hurricane Center thinks this low pressure center is right now. This is relatively new, though. This is looking at the different computer models and what they're forecasting as far as our wind speed, as far as intensification. And already, as you can see, that we're above that tropical storm threshold, but until we get the proper characteristics, we can't exactly give it a name just yet. But virtually all the models here, at least going out 3 days, indicate a tropical storm. A couple of them getting close to that hurricane status there up at the top, and then right at about that 72-hour frame, that's when the National Hurricane Center thinks this will start interacting with land, and of course that's when you're going to be seeing those levels going down below tropical storm force coming up in the future, going out to days 4 and 5. Now, what does that mean for Acadiana? Well, we don't have any watches as far as tropical watches are concerned, but we do have some coastal flood advisories, and some flood watches have just now gone up for parts of southeastern Texas. But looking at the Euro rainfall here, this is the latest run from just a little while ago. It does keep most of the heavy stuff out in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico and up and down the Texas Gulf Coast. Meanwhile, there are a few areas here, maybe right there over southwestern portions of Louisiana, that could be in that 2 to 3 inch range, but the bulk of Acadiana here does appear to be staying somewhere in the 1 to 2 inch range, so that's better news for us here in the region. Meanwhile, the GFS, this is one, if you were watching Let's Talk Tropics at noon, this is a map you've already seen. We'll get a new run here in just a little while, but it does have some of those higher rainfall totals encroaching on southwestern Louisiana, anywhere between 2 and maybe up to 4 inches of rain. So some of these tropical downpours with this moisture that comes around from the bottom of that tropical system, throwing that moisture at us, can potentially produce some heavy rains. And even though we're only expecting about 2 to 4 inches of rain over the course of the next week here in Acadiana, some of these individual storms can dump 2 to 4 inches of rain in a matter of hours. So that's why we do have an excessive rainfall outlook of a level 2. Again, this is very similar to the severe weather outlook that you've become familiar with, a marginal and a slight risk. So level 2 is a slight risk, but rather than talking about severe weather, we're talking about the potential for flash flooding. There's also some coastal hazards. Not only will it be rough in the offshore waters, but we are expecting some higher than normal tides here along the Cameron and Vermilion Parish coast. So a coastal flood watch has been posted for those areas where tides could be 3 feet above the normal high tide. That would flood parts of LA 82 there along the Cameron Parish coast, and then down over Iberia and St. Mary parishes, we have a coastal flood advisory, 1.5 to 2 feet above high water tide. So that could flood some areas, especially down towards Sycamore Point, where roads sometimes do get flooded due to some higher tides, and that water will be piling up. But potential cyclone, tropical cyclone number 1, has officially been designated. It's at 20.3 north and 93.2 west. Winds are at 40 miles per hour and the pressure at 1,001 millibars. A lot of moisture there out in the middle part of the Gulf of Mexico. So even though the center of circulation is expected to kind of cruise its way over toward Texas and into northern Mexico, there still is quite a bit of moisture out here in the middle part of the Gulf of Mexico, and that is going to be lifting northward over the next couple of days, and then gradually we'll see our rain chances shifting over toward Texas as we head toward the middle part of the week. We'll keep you updated on any other advisories that come out, but just wanted to put a little video out here and let you know that our first tropical system of the 2024 season, or at least the advisories, have been started here, initiated here on this June the 17th. So hurricane season is officially underway, and we'll watch out for the potential for some gusty winds, some high tides, and some very heavy rains along the western half of the Gulf of Mexico, including the Louisiana, Texas, and Mexican Gulf Coast. I'm meteorologist Dave Baker. Hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. If you want to follow up on any updates, I'll have those on social media, and I'll also have an update on Acadiana weather today, tomorrow morning, between 7:30 and 8 o'clock.